Alright, Zola's Lab events in 2024. I think this year was a pretty good year for the lab, I'm not gonna lie. We actually got a ton of new events this year, some of which occurring back to back with each other in the span of a few months. And even some of the events that normally come back every year, like the Halloween party, got even more creative than normal, which was awesome. We'll get to this later though. The only downside to this year was that basically every single video in Zola's Lab 2 and 3 was filmed in the form of either my phone or GoPro, because the Worldland just refused to work all year. I'm not even freaking kidding. I better hope we get that fixed in 2025. But yeah, like outside of that, this year was pretty freaking good for Zola's Lab. So let's talk about it. Starting off with the New Year's party of 2024. It started on December 28th, 2023, and ended on January 4th, 2024. The update occurring on December 28th, 2023, mainly just consisted of just some red streamers around the lab roof, with most of the Christmas decorations still being there. There wasn't too much to say about this. It was still cool though. But the update that followed it on New Year's Day was a whole ton better. It actually looked like a proper New Year's party. And to be honest, I prefer this way more. This was such a cool design. It truly showed that, yeah, I think this year was going to be a good year for the lab. And to be honest, I truly think it was as well. With all that said, the only room, of course, that was updated was the roof. And we went back to just putting it on the roof this year around, rather than, you know, outside, down there specifically. Because the Christmas party was still here at the time when it was first put up. So, yeah. Anyway, that's all there is to say, so let's go ahead and move on to the next party. Fun fact, there was no New Year's party for Zola's Lab 3 because we completely forgot. That's why we go automatically to the Zola's Lab 9th anniversary party, which thankfully both labs participated in. Let's talk about the Zola's Lab 2 one first. It started on January 11th and ended on the 18th. Well, actually, it ended on the 19th because I just forgot to take it down. That was my fault. This party wasn't as huge as the 8-year anniversary party. It went back to a more traditional anniversary party, if you'd like to call it. Except it also wasn't one at the same time. You see, this was the first ever Zola's Lab anniversary without Rose Crystal actually being here for it, because she was away at college at the time. So the lab became ultimately depressing as frick. So depressing that there was even a message about it. And even more depressing when you see this specific message in Rose Crystal's room. It's unfortunate you aren't here to celebrate with us. That, of course, was a message to Rose Crystal, as this was the first ever time that she never, ever was physically here to celebrate the anniversary. Of course, normally I toured the parties alone without her, but this was the first time that she actually couldn't see these parties in person, even if it was just from my account. She was nowhere to be found in this party, and that's what made it all depressing. Speaking of which, it only got more depressing on the actual anniversary day when the entire lab legitimately went dark. This was actually pretty freaking depressing, I'm not going to lie. Making this the saddest Zola's Lab anniversary of all time. That's not a freaking joke. I did not think an anniversary party would ever go this deep, but it did. And oh my god, thank god the 10-year anniversary is going to be way more positive. Because, my god, I don't even want to look at this anymore. It's too depressing. Let's move on to the next event. I can't look at this anymore. God dang it, that was only the ZL2 version of that party. Right, ZL3 coincided from January 14th to the 21st. I won't be on this one long since it's basically the exact same thing that we just talked about, just in Zola's Lab 3. But yeah, like ZL2, absolutely freaking depressing. Like I said, with Rose Crystal nowhere to be found, this party became ultimately depressing and was the saddest anniversary party of all time. I don't even want to look at this anymore. Let's really move on to the next event. This is just too hard to look at. It's just too depressing! The next one is also an event that coincides with both Zola's Lab 2 and 3. The first one to take place was in Zola's Lab 2. Oh, sorry, Zola's Lab 3. My bad. It is the Winter Luau. And if you guys recall, in 2023, Zola's Lab 3 did not have a Winter Luau because it got taken over by 2027 Evil Sheep Leader. So now we actually got to see exactly what would have been seen in 2023. for Zoa's Lab 3's Winter Luau. Which actually made a lot of sense, because we never actually got to see it that year. It started on January 21st and ended on the 28th. This party, again, is basically what we would have seen for Zoa's Lab 3 if it actually occurred in 2023 as it was originally intended. So take that as you will. That is exactly what this party was. And that's all there needs to be said. There was obviously a ton of very cool items, of course, to dedicate the Winter Luau theme. And there was ice all over the place, which was awesome. In fact, that was the main idea behind the 2024 Winter Luau, in both labs respectively. And you'll know what I mean when we get to the ZL2 version. Overall, this looked awesome. And to be honest, that's really all there needs to be said, because, yeah, it's basically what it would have been in 2023. As for ZL2, on the other hand, oh yeah, we went frickin' nuts. This started on January 25th and ended on February 1st. Like ZL3, this party was mainly consistent with ice, as that was the main idea behind this. I don't know, just thought I'd also take it to Zoa's Lab 2 as well for no freaking reason. I'm not even kidding, that's literally what over half this party is. And I think some of the items actually returned from the previous year. I think. But yeah, it was practically all ice. It's basically just a Winter Luau with ice. That's all there really needs to be said. I'm not even freaking kidding at this point. Overall though, the event looked really, really nice, and I think we did a very good job of taking advantage of the whole ice theme. It honestly was such a cool party. And that's all there really needs to be said, because I kind of want to just continue on here. So the Valentine's Day party is actually pretty interesting for both labs, as they are completely different from each other. For Zoa's Lab 2, it started on February 8th and ended on the 15th. This party, just like 2023's Winter Luau, basically showcases what would have the Valentine's Day Party 2019 looked like if ZL2 was around. Because if you guys remember, not only was ZL2 still not brought back yet, but overall, there was no Valentine's Day Party in 2019. Even though that 3 didn't have one. So, what did we do? We made a party where we see exactly what it probably would have looked like. And perfect timing. It was 5 years after it was supposed to occur, which was actually pretty cool. Overall though, this party looked nice. And it was really cool seeing what could have been. Seriously, this was actually a really creative idea. What could have it been 5 years ago? Of course, there were obviously some custom elements, such as of course the cherry wood, but that was mainly custom elements for this year. Outside of that, not too much, but it's really nice to know what could have it been 5 years ago if it actually happened. Well, mainly just to kind of put it into a perspective, the outside, lab office, and roof is basically what it would have been like in 2019. As for the downstairs of the lab itself, yeah, that's completely new custom decorations for 2024. I should have actually made myself a little more clear here. What did ZL3's look like? ZL3 is a completely different story. Also, notice how I didn't say a Zoa's Lab 3 anniversary party. That's because we completely forgot to make the 7th anniversary party. That's why we skipped automatically to Valentine's Day. If you were wondering where that was, yeah, there was none, which is why we skipped to Valentine's Day. But like, yeah, I said, Zoa's Lab 3 is a completely different story. This is what would have the Valentine's Day party looked like for Zoa's Lab 3 in 2023 if it wasn't taken over as well? Much like the Winter Luau, we were actually going to be able to see what would have the Zoa's Lab 3 Valentine's Day party 2023 looked like if it didn't get taken over. So now we're seeing exactly what these events would have been like if all this chaos didn't happen. That's actually pretty cool. You actually get to see what could have been. And that's exactly what was seen here. What could have been. In fact, actually, there are actually some rooms that also come if there was also a Valentine's Day party in 2019 as well. Because, like I said, there was no Valentine's Day party for Zoa's Lab 3 and just Zoa's Lab in general in 2019. So that also is what made this party pretty freaking cool. Overall, this was such a very nice set of Valentine's Day parties, and with all that said, let's move on to the next event. And this is where the downfall of 2024 begins. You see, remember what I said earlier about, the land not working for the majority of the year? Yeah, it started like pretty much right here. In 2024 right here. Because, fun fact, this was right after I got locked out of Minecraft for 3 months. Which meant I had to film on the phone and GoPro. Which also meant that, specifically speaking, I couldn't get back in for the remainder of the year when it came to the lab. So, we're seeing it in this quality for the rest of the video. I am so sorry. The Festival of Snow 2024. It started on February 25th and came to an end on, well, actually, it was supposed to be March 3rd, but I forgot to take it down, so it ended on March 5th instead. This party, of course, obviously was, of course, snow sculptures, just like all the other Festival of Snows. It was the first Festival of Snow to occur in a good 4 years since January of 2020, but the first Festival of Snow to ever be here in Zolas Lab 3. So that's awesome. Finally, we got this event over here. But yeah, there were snow sculptures everywhere in this party. It was freaking awesome. Also, as a reference and an apology for not getting a 7th anniversary party, there was a snow sculpture dedicated to it. Oh, and this was also, of course, a reference to the fact that I couldn't get into Minecraft at the time when this party occurred. Like, this was literally like a week after I got locked out of the game, so yeah. I was, practically fricked. Oh yeah, the entire lab turned into a freaking ice castle, much like 2018. Pretty awesome, right? And don't worry, the remainder of the lab was decorated too, I promise. Overall, this event honestly looked really, really cool. And of course, this was a little reference to Big Brother Season 8, which, as of recording this video, we still have yet to actually finish. Please let that be in 2025! It's been almost 5 years now! Overall, though, this event looked nice. But what was the Zolas Lab 2 version like? The Zolas Lab 2 version of this party started on February 29th, which was Leap Day, and ended on March 7th, so it actually ended on time, unlike ZL3. Like ZL3, the lab office turned into an ice castle, just like 2018's event, which was freaking awesome. There were all new items for this party as well. In fact, actually, where you can buy these items were actually in a shop ran by Snow Sheep, which was actually so freaking cool. There was actually a way to actually buy these items in the actual park. This was actually so freaking cool. As for the lab itself, some of these rooms weren't even decorated, actually. But there definitely still were a ton of rooms decorated, though. It may not have been the whole lab, but at least somewhere in this perspective it was updated. I think the snow sculptures were still pretty freaking awesome. I mean, these ones were based off of the villains, as you could clearly see. It was pretty cool. And we even got some snowflake ones. Overall, a nice set of events, and there was even a snow sculpture fun fact in reference to Leap Day, actually. Because, yeah, it happened to literally be Leap Day the day that this was being filmed. So, what a coincidence. That's a nice little reference. Anyway, that's it for the Festival of Snow, and let's move on. Zolas Lab 3 finally had a Pi Day party after exactly 5 years. Hooray! This was only, I think, for like 1 day. Scratch that. I think this was actually for 3 days leading up to the St. Patrick's Day party. So March 14th through 17th, and yeah, we'll get to that in a minute. This party mainly featured a ton of Pi Day themed decorations, finally having the Pi symbol in here, which was awesome. It's about time we finally put that in. Like, jeez! It took us long enough. Like, 8 years? Dang. Overall, not too much to say about this party. It was a very small party. In fact, I think the Zolas Lab 2 one might even be better. But this was still nice. Let's see what the ZL2 version had to offer. And heck yeah, I was right about the length. The ZL2 version of this party started on March 14th and ended on the 21st. This was in combination of Pi Day and St. Patrick's Day, which we'll get back to ZL3 for that in a minute. The party obviously merged Pi Day and St. Patrick's Day together, which is as expected. In fact, this might have actually been the first time that these two parties were merged together in Zolas Lab 2 at the same time. Well, actually, I'm wrong. These have actually been merged before, but it's the first time in a while that they've been merged together like this. That's what I should have said. Oh, and yeah, we'll get to that later. Overall, these rooms did look pretty freaking awesome. We, really did deck them out. Some rooms were Pi Day, and some others were St. Patrick's Day. Some rooms were even half combined with each other. which was actually pretty cool. Overall, there is not too much else to say about this party, other than it looks really freaking pretty. I will admit that one. And yeah, with all that said, let's move on to the next party. Oh, frick! Just like the 2019 St. Patrick's Day parties, the sheep were all green. There's also that free version of this party, started on March 17th and ended on the 24th. This time it was just St. Patrick's Day, with tons of really cool banners given out. This was honestly really cool, and honestly we had a lot of gold here as we could see. And also a lot of green at the same time. I can definitely say that this was far bigger than 2023's. And oh boy, I'm right about that one. Overall, this party did look pretty cool. It was really nice seeing the whole lab decorated like this. And to be honest, there's not much else for me to say about this party, so I'm going to actually move on now. Okay, so the next two events are exclusive to ZL2. This first one being the Zolas Lab 2 Return 5-year anniversary celebration. It started on March 18th and ended on the 21st. This, of course, celebrated the 5-year anniversary since Zolas Lab 2 made its comeback in 2019. So we made a little mini event to celebrate. It was mainly only located here on the outside, right here specifically. This was mainly because out here wasn't decorated for the Pie and St. Patrick's Day party. So I took advantage of that and put some little anniversary decorations. There were a lot of items available actually. And here's a little list of them right here. As you can see, yeah, there are so many items available here in this party. This was actually awesome. It was a nice little way to celebrate this little mini anniversary. That's all there needs to be said. Let's move on. Next up is the Easter Fool's Party of 2024. It started on March 28th and ended on April 4th. This party, of course, merged Easter and April Fools together, like we did in 2018. This was the first time in 6 years that we merged these two together in Zolas Lab, but mainly Zolas Lab 2, because it never occurred in Zolas Lab 3. Oh yeah, there was no Zolas Lab 3 version of this party, so we're gonna get through this one rather quick. Like the last one, this merged Easter and April Fools together into one party. It felt like every other room in this party was from April Fools and Easter, but I made sure to probably cram in as much Easter rooms in here, mainly because this was held during Easter weekend. So, yeah, it should be as expected which room event had more. But the April Fool's party was pretty freaking clever. This actually was a very clever April Fool's party. This party featured rooms, aka custom rooms, based off of the 3 dimensions that we all know from the April Fool's party. And honestly, this is such a clever idea. What you would do is use the banners seen in each room to unlock each dimension. That was honestly so freaking clever, and to be honest, I really like how that came out. And yes, we did have an Easter egg hunt like normal. One of my favorite parts of this April Fool's party was honestly the portal, man. This was such a clever idea. Like, how did I come up with this, man? That was actually pretty freaking awesome. Overall, this party was amazing. And yes, the 3 dimensions did return like normal, as you would expect from these April Fool's parties. But yeah, honestly, out of all 3 dimension-themed rooms, honestly, I'm not going to lie. I think the evil dimension one, had to be my personal favorite out of all 3. It just looks so freaking cool. Could you blame me? Anyway, I've rambled on about this party long enough. Let's move on. Next up was the Earth Day party for 2024. It started on April 18th and ended on the 25th. This party, of course, obviously celebrated Earth Day. And there were trees all over the place, just like the previous year. But it mainly focused on trees this time around. And it shows! Yeah, there were like tree banners that you could collect as well, which was actually really cool at the time, I'm not going to lie. This was actually a pretty cool Earth Day party. You could actually get banners based off of every single tree seen in this party, which was awesome. Of course, the lab had some actual Earth Day decorations down here, as you could clearly see, which was actually pretty cool as well. But yeah, not too much to say other than, yeah, all the items were new, which was incredible, by the way. And some of these items unlocked daily. Overall, not a bad Earth Day party. Let's continue on. Yeah, if you didn't know, Zolas Lab 3 did not have an Earth Day party as well. That was already 2 events that already got skipped. We did have construction for it, but it never happened. But at the end of April, it was announced that a series of events called the Summer of Surprises would be coming to Zolas Lab 2 and 3 throughout the summer of 2024. Bringing back, of course, the activeness of Zolazab 3, and making sure updates were consistent from this point forward. And fun fact, it worked! Let's talk about those now, shall we? The first event of the Summer of Surprises was the Cave Expedition 2024 Ore Celebration. It started on April 28th and was supposed to end on May 5th. You wanna know when it ended? Exactly 1 month later on May 28th, by complete accident. The premise behind this party was that, well, there were ores all over the place, both the regular and deep slate ores respectively. And what you could do in this party was dig them up for the ore-themed items, using these specific holes right here, which was awesome. And this party covered every single ore that you could possibly think of in the whole game. Yep, we got all of them here. And it was incredible. Not a bad way to start Summer of Surprises, but it only gets better from here. Heck, even the Gold Nugget Room that's normally only open during Christmas parties was actually open during this part. That's actually insane considering it is only opened once a year, being Christmas time. This is the first time that it's ever been opened outside of a Christmas party in a good, I want to say 4 years, since Lab of Doom of 2020. Again, not a bad way to start off Summer of Surprises. But again, it only gets more crazy from here. This party came out of freaking nowhere. Yeah, in Zolazab 2, we had a completely different event. You see, Rose Crystal was returning home from college for the summer. So, this was an extremely last minute thing to do. But I decided, let's just put in a little freaking reunion party for no freaking reason at all. And I mean, no reason at all. This was only planned like the day before I made the event, on April 29th. And it lasted from April 30th and ended May 2nd, meaning this was only 2 days long. This party, as you would expect, mainly just celebrates Rose Crystal returning back. And honestly, this was an event that I had no reason to do, but I just did for no freaking reason. I mean, we kinda didn't get a mainline April event outside of, Earth Day, and there was supposed to be a time travel party, but that didn't happen because we couldn't get the world transferred over in time for the Prehistoric and Future worlds. To the point where we just ended up remaking them, which I still have yet to actually do. Anyway, so this event also mainly happened for that reason as well, but mainly to, of course, welcome Rose Crystal back for the summer for the next 4 months, which was actually pretty freaking awesome. And that's all this event ever needed to be talked about for. That's literally the only reason this event exists. Mainly because, of course, Rose Crystal was coming back. Like I said, this was an event that I did not need to do at all. I just did anyway for no reason. And it also was considered the second surprise of Summer of Surprises. Speaking of the next one. Okay, well, actually, the next one will be in the next few events. Just for the record, this was the Minecraft 15th anniversary celebration. This was the first time we were ever celebrating Minecraft's anniversary in Zola's lab. And we didn't get a Zolazab 3 version, so this is going to be covered really quick, so... Anyway, this party was actually pretty creative. It started on May 16th and ended on the 23rd. This party celebrated the 15th anniversary of Minecraft, but in a very creative way. This party combined all versions from 1.9 all the way to 1.20 and merged them into multiple different rooms spread across the Zolazab 2 world. For example, the lab office was 1.13 for Update Aquatic, and the underground room was 1.17 for Caves and Cliffs Part 1. One more example could be the backyard, which was decorated for 1.19's Wild Update. And that's all I'll cover, since if I went for all of them, we'll be here way too long. There were even custom-made decorations exclusive to the anniversary itself, so that was actually pretty awesome. And that's all there needs to be said about this party. Let's move on to the next party. Finally, for the first time in 6 years, the Memorial Day party is back. And it lasted from May 23rd all the way to May 30th. Yep, after 6 years, the Memorial Day party finally returned to Zolazab 2. And to Zolazab in general. God, it feels so good having these back. And honestly, it was pretty cool how we did it. This party, as you could clearly see, we mainly merged the American flag colors with, of course, black and white, as you would expect. This was honestly a really nice way to do this Memorial Day party, and honestly, I really liked the way I came out with it. Of course, not every single room was decorated, only a handful. This was a mini event, just to clarify. So again, not the whole lab got decorated. Okay, I take that back. Apparently everywhere got updated. What the frick? I thought we didn't do that. I am literally looking back at this footage right now and I'm realizing, oh frick, more places got decorated than I thought. Memorial Sheep was obviously somewhere to be seen in this party. I think as if you would expect. I mean, yeah, it was a Memorial Day party. Of course he would be here somewhere. If I could find the footage. Yeah, he was definitely here somewhere. Yeah. Definitely here somewhere. This party came out pretty well. And with all that said, we're going to move on to the next event now, since this was mainly just a mini event. Okay, finally, another event that coincides alongside Zolazap 2 and 3. Thank God. And this is also our next surprise of Summer of Surprises, the Big Brother Series Farewell Celebration. It started on May 30th and ended June 27th. That went on longer than I thought. This party was mainly here to celebrate the final months, or say final weeks of Big Brother Season 8 and the overall series. Can you guess where that went? Yeah, no, this ended up actually staying longer than its original run. You're freaking welcome, god dang it. The party mainly featured rooms from throughout the series, and also trivia questions related to them. Fun fact, did you know most of these rooms stayed for months and months and months on end without cleaning them up? I take, for example, this room, the backyard design. This stayed here longer than we thought. And most of the lab was decorated as the Season 6 house. This stayed for a good 6 months, by accident. I'm actually not even kidding. Everything I am literally saying right now is actually true. And you'll know what I mean when we go through the remainder of the events leading up to December. Because, oh boy, these stayed here for a while. And by accident on that. I will admit, these rooms were great to see. And we even had some custom rooms based off of the farewell celebration itself, which was actually awesome. This was one of my personal favorite Summer of Surprises. And this was only the 4th one. Where was the 3rd one? That was the backyard graduation part. This was the 4th Summer of Surprise. And overall, this event was actually pretty cool, even if it stayed for longer than it should have. So that 3 version of this party practically started the same day. And oh my god, this was probably even more crazy. Okay, maybe not. It mainly only resorted to rooms from the series that were in Zolazap 3, from both the universe themed of Zolazap 3 and the Snowy Tundra version as well. In fact, this room actually made a return during the throwback party in 2022. So this wasn't the first time we were seeing this room after 6 years. This was the 2nd time. This room was from Season 8, at least the one, down right there. And then this room was from the 2nd anniversary of the whole series. And then the rest of these rooms were just straight up from Season 6. It was pretty crazy. Notice how many Season 6 rooms there were in this party. There were a ton of these. But to be honest, that's really all there is to say about the Big Brother Series Farewell Celebration. Throughout the month, we did answer a ton of trivia questions, and we did later come back to them in late November. But moving on to our next party being an entirely new party. The New York party. It started on June 26th and ended on July 4th. Yeah, it was supposed to start June 27th, but I just ended up releasing the party a day early just because we ended up just being in New York one day prior to the party actually beginning in real life. So, yeah, it actually started a day early. Fun fact, this was the only event this entire year to start the day before it was intended to. You're welcome. This party was basically us recreating a traditional New York trip inside Minecraft, and in this case, the New York Trip 2024, since it was ongoing during this exact party. This was only a Zolazap 2 exclusive party, which means we'll be seeing a different party for Zolazap 3 in the next 2 minutes. The cruise ship was purposely decorated for this party, to travel over to the New York themed room. The New York themed rooms were the ones specifically seen on Legos Island, but a few months later, I eventually clarified that wasn't supposed to be the case, and that they were actually supposed to be full-on remakes of the house inside the Creations world. That never ended up happening, which is unfortunate, because that would have probably made this party far cooler than it actually ended up being. Overall, the party did look nice. We went to the houses on the respective days that we actually went to them during the New York Trip 2024. The only one out of all 3 of these that we never actually ended up going to in real life, that we only ended up going to in this party, was the Loft House, as we can see right here. And yeah, with all that being said, that is really it. There's not much to say about it. Overall, it was a nice way trying to recreate the traditional New York trip. And perfect timing too, considering this was also because the New York ships had just came back at the time. You see, Sol's Lab 3 didn't actually get a June party, unfortunately. Instead, we actually got the 4th of July party. It started on June 30th and ended on July 7th. Yep, we got a 4th of July party here 2 years in a row. Hooray! Now let's hope we can keep that going. This party was far bigger than the previous one. And by a lot. There were far more items in this party. And oh my god, I don't know which one was my personal favorite. This was honestly such a cool party. And pretty much almost nearly half the lab was decorated too, which was awesome. Maybe not everywhere was updated, but a majority of the lab was. And it was actually pretty cool, I'm not going to lie. But don't worry, Sol's Lab 3 wasn't the only place that got a 4th of July party. Sol's Lab 2 as well. Immediately following the New York party on July 4th. It started on July 4th and ended on the 11th. You can see this basically takes place immediately after the New York party, hence why you can still see the airport. So, yeah. Oh yeah, completely forgot to mention that in this party. When it came to the New York party. Frick. Yeah, did I mention there was actually an airport for this party, for the New York party? I know, pretty frickin' clever. Even though we didn't even go to an airport for that. Point is, 4th of July party. This was the first 4th of July party in Sol's Lab 2 in 2 years since 2022, and was far smaller compared to the Sol's Lab 3 version respectively. But it did offer some new items, which was good. 2 new items, to be exact, which were both banners. And that's all there is to say. Much like the Sol's Lab 2 Return 5th anniversary celebration in March, the only place that was decorated was the outside area, as the main front of the lab was still the airport from the New York party. Much like how that was still the St. Patrick's and Pi Day rooms from that party respectively. With that being said, there's not too much to say about this other than because it's only just like one room. With all that said, let's move on to the next event. So the next party to occur was in Sol's Lab 3, and we finally hit its 200th episode. A month late. It was supposed to occur in June of 2024, which meant it would have occurred before 4th of July. We couldn't get there in time, so we had to do the 4th of July party in replacement. Instead, we actually ended up, doing it on July 21st. Well, at least the party released. The video came out 13 days late. The party started on July 21st and was originally supposed to end on the 28th. It actually ended on August 4th instead because we forgot to film the video. The party mainly, of course, had some pretty cool decorations, I'm not going to personally lie. See, even under the balcony had some pretty cool decorations. This was actually pretty cool, and I'm not gonna lie, this actually looked pretty cool. The rest of the lab also had some pretty cool decorations as well. This was a very nice 200 episode celebration. I don't think it was as big as the 100th episode celebration, because at least with that party, pretty much everywhere was updated. I think not even space or the theme park was updated. So yeah, this was far smaller than that party, which was actually insane. Overall, this party did look pretty awesome for what it was, and it was a nice way to celebrate 200 episodes. Like that party, Rosca still joined in as well, which was pretty cool. What was going on at Sol's Lab 2, you're probably wondering, because let me just make that clear, it was completely different. For our 5th surprise of Summer of Surprises, I forgot to mention the New York party was the 4th one. For the 5th one, it was... Wait. You guys already knew about this one at the beginning of the year. I take that back. The New York party was the 5th one for Summer of Surprise. This one you already knew about. The Christmas in July party. It started on July 25th and ended August 1st. This party celebrated Christmas in July, as it actually started that day. The party mainly consisted of just some very, very small Christmas decorations scattered across the lab, which was actually pretty cool at the time. And of course, there was a night sky to go alongside it. Fun fact, did you know that this was actually previously a future time period for Operation Sol's Lab 2023? I'm not even kidding, that's literally what half this party was based off of. And that's actually not a joke. Go watch the original video and you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. But there were a few minor differences, like this room here, for example. Because the Season 4 design was still here, I had to improvise and change a lot of the rooms up, so of course we could still keep that design in. Yeah, remember how I said that those designs stayed for a while? This is what I was talking about, and again, was by complete accident. And yeah. But the rooms that were decorated were actually pretty cool. I'm not gonna lie, these actually pretty well. They really did come out pretty well, and I really like how I made these. And overall, this was a very nice party. I don't know if we'll ever do one like this ever again. I just wanted to do it at least one time because this party happened to release on Christmas in July itself, July 25th. So yeah, I don't know if we're ever gonna see this again. Unless one of these days happens to land on July 25th again, like Zolas F3 on a Sunday, for example. But I highly doubt we're going to be seeing that for a while. So we may never see this event again, but at least I wanted to do it at least just one time, just because why not for the literal heck of it. Overall, this party was really cool. And let's move on. Okay, this next one is the real next Summer of Surprises. It's the second to last one, but also the last one for Zolas Up 2. And also an entirely new event as well. Notice how over half the events for the past, I want to say like 20 minutes or so, have been all new events. That's because Summer of Surprises introduced practically all new events, this one being the Festival of Fruit. It started on August 22nd and ended on September 5th. This party mainly celebrated fruit. A fun fact, as you can clearly see, this was supposed to be in June of 2024, but that's when we came up with the New York party, so it was moved to August instead. The idea behind this party was that most rooms were designed like fruits, which was pretty cool. And what's even more cool about it is that there were actually temples based off the said fruits that you could actually take part in certain challenges to collect a certain fruit related to the room that they were in, which was awesome. There were 9 of them total and spread across the whole party, from the start all the way to the end of the party, which was actually pretty cool. So you got to keep coming back throughout the party to enter and check out these temples and, of course, complete whatever was in them, which was actually really cool. Now, as you can see, there was a freaking ton of them. This footage right here is the Watermelon Temple, which was one of my personal favorites. I'm not going to personally lie with you. It was one of my personal favorites. This was a really nice party. But yeah, those are just a few temple examples, just to name a few, since there's like 9 of them. And if I went through all of them, we would be here all day. I'm like, not even kidding. We would literally be here all day if I were to go all through all 9 of them. So I will stop here before I drag this on any longer. But what was going on during Zolas F3 at this time? Well, I can confirm that Zolas F3 was holding our last Summer of Surprises, the 7th one. Does anybody remember that event back in 2021 where we explored planets from Zolas F3's universe? And it never ended up getting finished, and it was originally named Operation Galaxy? Well, we renamed it to Planet Expedition, and you can thank Cool Get Ready Free for the name. I think that is much more appreciated than Operation Galaxy. But hey, speaking of which, we finally got to see all the planets that were originally meant to be released 4 years prior in 2020. That's actually insane. Yep, it actually happened. And it started on August 25th and ended on September 8th. And this party explains exactly what I said. 3 years ago in September 2021, we held an event called Operation Galaxy where we explored planets in space. However, we never ended up exploring every one that we discovered back then, which is why we are going to go on another adventure to finish. And we did as follows. We explored so many cool planets during this party, and was such a cool way to end off the summer. And also Summer of Surprises itself. We finally got to see what the rest of the planets were after all these years. Yay! And that's what made this event really freaking cool. The fact that we got to see the remaining planets that we didn't get to see 3 to 4 years ago, which was awesome. That is truly what made this event so cool. And finally put an end to that little storyline that we had like back 3 to 4 years ago in 2020 and 2021. Yep, it was finally finished here. We finally discovered all the planets. And everything was complete. And that's also a wrap on Summer of Surprises. So now we're back to just normal events from this point forward with no more surprises in between. At long last, the fair was finally here. And it crossed both Zolas Up 2 and 3. Yep, the fair finally arrived. For Zolas Up 2, it started on September 19th and ended on October 3rd. This year was a fall-themed fair, respectively, and it was actually across both laps, respectively. I'll get to see all 3s later. There were 2 prize booths with 6 items each, And what's even cooler is that all of the items were entirely new. Also, some of the mini games from the fair were redone to celebrate fall, which was actually so freaking cool. As you can see, what normally was blue was orange for wool color. Another game, like the Ticket Boats game, was also redone for fall. And see, those Season 6 house designs were still here. I told you they were here for the majority of the year. I know. That was actually crazy. And heck, even my house was decorated for once. It was the first time in months that it actually got updated on the outside, which was actually pretty crazy. I didn't think I was going to actually do that again. Yeah, there were even games like Cornhole, which I don't think was actually here in the previous CL2 fair. I think. Oh yeah, and much like 2022, the fair was actually back to being together across both labs instead of being separate like it was in 2023, where they occurred in both labs separately. Oh yeah, we'll get to that madness later. Overall, this party was really cool. But what did the ZL3 one look like? Well, let's talk about that. Yes, the ZL3 version of this party. On September 22nd and was originally supposed to end on October 6th, but it ended up staying up for 2 months. You see, it actually ended a good 2 months later, on November 17th. By complete accident. Yeah, that was the biggest mistake we ever made, and we abandoned Zola's Lab 2 Zola's Lab 3 for the next 2 months. Freaking brilliant! Yep, of course we had to at least abandon one lab this year, and god dang it, we were so close to not having that happen all year. God dang it. But this party was actually pretty cool though, I will not lie. This party was pretty cool. Similarly to Zola's Lab 2. Most of these were, of course, redesigned minigames for fall and reskinned minigames, specifically for this party. Most of the games were reskinned, like Zola's Lab 2, which was actually really, really cool at the time. Of course, all the games were completely different. What I mean by is their location. This was actually pretty cool, and I'm not going to lie, it was a bit of a compared to the 2023 Halloween fair. But it was still something, I'll admit. It was still something. But it still worked. In fact, there was a full-on circus tent for this. Like, holy frick, this actually got in here. That's mainly because, well, I don't know, just felt like it. It was pretty cool, not gonna lie. Anyway, that's mainly it for the ZL3 version of the fair and just the fair 2024 overall. There's not much else to say about it other than, well, there were some differences between the two, which was good. Just so it isn't, a full-on copy and paste. That's good to know. Next event. And like I just said, Zola's Lab 2 was abandoned for a few months, so the next two are in Zola's Lab 3. Zola's Lab 2, my bad. Speaking of Zola's Lab 2, we didn't actually forget about its 9th anniversary. Hooray! This was a mini event, starting on September 29th and ending on October 3rd. Exact same length as 2019's 4-year anniversary party for Zola's Lab 2. But this time was a bit different. This time it was actually held in Classic Zola's Lab 2, and the main intentional reason? Because the rest of the lab was already decorated there, and Classic Zola's Lab 2 was not, which meant this was our only way of getting this party to actually work. There were all new items, and the entirety of Classic Zola's Lab 2 was decorated for this party. For it only being a mini event, I think we did a really good job on this. Like, we literally covered everywhere in Classic Zola's Lab 2. No room was untouched, and we covered every inch of it. It was amazing. And unlike the Zola's Lab 9th anniversary, this wasn't absolutely freaking depressing. Because Rose Crystal was actually here for this one. Except for when I made the video. Yeah, she already left by the time I made the video, so frick! Yeah, that's the only downside, is that after, like literally right before I made the video, she left. At least this one isn't depressing like the original Zola's Lab 9th anniversary from back in January. At least you can guarantee that one. Thank God, because my God, that was depressing. But don't worry, this one was back to a more traditional anniversary party. I promise. Promise nothing weird happened here. Yeah. we were filming this pretty late as well, but the party still looked pretty cool. And with all that said, I'm gonna move on to the next event now, since there's not much to say about this one. Good to know that we still remembered its anniversary. And we're definitely gonna be doing something next year for 10 years. Holy frick! Okay, this party. Did you know it almost didn't happen? Yeah, that's right. This party almost entirely got scrapped. Entirely. You see, the original premise behind this party was that it was supposed to start on October 17th and end on November 1st. It didn't. It instead started on October 31st and ended November 7th. The reason behind this: we lost access to Zoazap 2 and Free for 2 weeks, starting October 16th, 2024, the day before this was meant to go live. So, we couldn't get the party set up for a good, 2 weeks, because it just was it! So, we had to do the party here on Halloween. I managed to finish it the night before, but I fully released it on Halloween itself, which I know is kind of stupid considering it would be completely pointless the day after. We're hopefully not going to make that same goal this year, in 2025. But, because of this, there was only a Zoazap 2 version of this party. But, the main concept behind this party stayed intact. And that was the fact that it was a full-on black and white themed Halloween party. And actually, that's not a joke. Everywhere was updated for this party. And I mean freaking everywhere. Okay, maybe not literally everywhere, but I tried getting as many places as possible. Yeah, because this party came out so late, I wasn't able to literally decorate everywhere, but I tried my best to get as many places as possible. So some rooms were not decorated, which means this is probably one of the first Halloween parties to not have the entire world decorated like we normally do. You can thank it being delayed by 2 weeks because of us not being able to get into Zoazap 2 and Free. But what we got was honestly still incredible. This was a very cool Halloween party. All items were new and dedicated to the black and white theme. And also, Costume Sheep came back. Yeah. That's right, Costume Sheep came back from the previous party and offered Halloween costumes, as you can clearly see. Overall, this was a very nice party. And while not the entirety of Zoazap 2 was decorated, as we could clearly see right here with the special labs, at least I did something for Halloween, even if it came out late. Overall, I'm just surprised I was even able to get this party out at all, considering the delay. This party came out far better than I actually thought it was gonna be. And all the items were honestly amazing. Thank God I created them weeks ahead of time, because who knows, we had no idea that was gonna happen. So thank God. This was such a cool party. And remember the room that we saw earlier during the fair of 2024? Yep, that was it, right here, in this specific room. This was actually pretty cool. Overall, this party was honestly so cool. The black and white theme truly made it scary. And, just for the record by the way, the skyscraper also followed this exact theme. Everywhere had the black and white theme. Even the skyscraper was affected, which was awesome. Which made the challenges so much more creative. Like seriously, these challenges were far more creative with the black and white theme in mind. And honestly, it came out amazing. I truly love how this came out. And, well, like I said, unfortunately, because of the delay, we didn't get as well as that 3 version. I had to scrap it last minute because it was super close to Halloween. So, yeah, unfortunately, it had to be scrapped. But don't worry, Zoazap 3 would come back not long after. With all that being said, this was a very fun Halloween party. It's unfortunate that it started late, but it still came out amazing regardless. Let's move on to the next party. The next party was Operation Multiverse 2024. Yep, it actually came back after the insanity that was 2023. And both labs joined alongside each other in this party. Hooray! For Zoazap 2, it started on November 21st and ended on December 5th. The main goal was actually completely different compared to the last Operation Multiverse. Completely new universes were seen. Alternate Universe Evil Street Leader came back after defeating him in the previous Operation Multiverse in 2023. And his new goal was to completely capture Mr. Sheep an HQ secretary from different universes and put them in the wrong one. Our goal was to obviously go into these universes, find the respective sheep that was not supposed to be there, and send them back to their respective universes. My personal favorite mission out of all of these had to be the Holiday universe. It just looks so freaking cool. Like, yeah, it basically had a universe with every single holiday you can probably think of in real life. And that's exactly what this was based off of. This was my personal favorite one, and I'm not going to lie about that. It was my personal favorite. I truly love how this came out. And what was even cooler is that this universe actually came out on Thanksgiving, which meant there was a Thanksgiving mini event for 2024 in the library inside this very universe, in reference to, of course, this being out on Thanksgiving itself. There was even a Big Brother themed universe, which finally put an end to these Big Brother designs that we've been seeing since May. Finally! We had a reason to finally get rid of them. But oh boy, this looked so freaking cool. And Rose Crystal personally enjoyed it as well, alongside the Holiday universe. This was so cool. I honestly had so much fun with this one. And all of these universes respectively, even seeing some sheep that have been completely abandoned for years on end, made a return in this universe, such as Ruby and Cinderprint respectively, which will probably never make an appearance again. But it was really cool seeing all these sheep. And ZO3 also had some pretty cool universes as well, starting on November 24th and ending on December 8th. Some of these universes include the Abandoned universe, the Halloween universe, in favor of not getting a Halloween party for Zolazat 3, and the Neon universe, to name a few. This was so cool. I truly think the universes were far better than 2023. We truly did a lot more creativity in this one. At the end of the party on December 4th, we did eventually defeat Evil Sheep Leader in the villain-themed universe, in Zola's Lab 2 respectively, as you can see. Playing this was difficult, but oh so satisfying. Oh, and we also managed to save Mr. Sheep and HQ Secretary from our universe, alongside Evil Cluck, Master Evil Oinkers, and Evil Sheep Leader from our universe as well, where Evil Sheep Leader from the alternate universe, or multiverse to be exact, trapped all of them in the villain universe. Crazy, right? And that's a wrap on Operation Multiverse 2024. Who knows when we're gonna see this madness again? Probably 2025. No one cool get 33. Overall, let's move on to the final event of the year, shall we? Here we are, the final party of the year, Zola's Lab 2's Christmas Party 2024. It started on December 19th, 2024, and ended on January 2nd, 2025. This party was actually pretty freaking creative. The main premise behind this party was all of the colorful lit up trees scattered around the lab. Oh, and maybe a few candy cane themed elements here and there. But mainly it was about the colorful lit up trees. And this right here proves that. Look at this. This was insane. And that wasn't even all of them. There were more over there on that side, right over near the house. Like, jeez, I went nuts. I really like it though. I do appreciate what I did here. Outside of that, the lab was mainly just decorated in more traditional Christmas decorations. With the pale oak wood now being there, being white, this made it so much easier to do red, white, and green decorations. And oh boy, I truly do appreciate that. Like, the cruise ship turned into a freaking ice skating rink. That was actually pretty awesome. And the bakery came back too, just right next to the UFO, which I don't think was actually decorated in this party, from what I remember. Overall, the bakery was back and it was entirely custom, which was awesome. Such a cool bakery design. Oh, and speaking of those items, every single advent calendar item, much like Lego's Island, were entirely custom. Made by myself. I'm not kidding, that actually is a real thing. I can actually say that. Same applies to Zolazat 3, which actually I'll get to right now. Zolazat 3's was a Snowden Christmas. It started on December 22nd, 2024 and ended on January 5th, 2025. This party mainly was all in snow, with most of the decorations being silver and garland decorations. Even the tree was, which was actually pretty awesome. Honestly, this was one of the more creative Christmas parties, and for some reason, you guys really freaking liked it for some reason. Holy frick, this has 100 views. I did not think you guys actually would like that. This was insane! You guys really liked this party. And overall, it's probably one of my personal favorite Christmas events of the year. I said one of them. We'll talk about the other one in a later video. Overall, not a bad way to end off the year. And speaking of which, that's it! that is literally it for this entire Solazab event for 2024. This actually went on far longer than I thought. And I'm going to end it here before it gets any longer. Thank you so much for watching the video. Remember to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one on January 18th for the Christmas event. Sorry, for the Creations World events of 2024.